Hey, what's up, everyone? And we are back on the Daily Jace live show. I'm pretty excited about today's show because we have someone from the tourism sector. As everyone knows, COVID's hit many different sectors pretty hard, but no other industry has been hit quite like the tourism sector. So it's my pride, honor, and privilege to bring onto the show Eleri Williams. How are you?
Hey Jace, I'm doing pretty well, thanks. It's awesome to be here today.
Yeah, it's really good to have you on the show. Before we get on to the juicy questions, can you just say a quick five of your background, history, and what you're all about?
Sure thing. So yeah, I'm currently the GM and co-founder of Haka Educational Tours. We are a company that runs educational and sport tours, both into New Zealand and overseas. So yeah, fair to say it's been a pretty challenging few months, but I'm sure we'll jump into those details shortly. My background is in youth educational travel. I started off as a tour guide, running some uni ski trips back in the day, and yeah, then moved into an operations role with a tourism entity running school trips in the UK, and yeah, found myself actually doing a semester abroad at uni in Palmerston North. In New Zealand, and
Awesome.
that gave me a little bit of a taste of the Kiwi lifestyle. And yeah, went back, finished my studies, did a bit sort of more work in the tourism space, and decided to just take a big leap and yeah, move out to New Zealand. So that was 9 years ago now, I think. So yeah, it's been a little while. And I actually just came out here with a view of just doing a ski season, and yeah, it turned into 9 years later. So yeah,
you're one of us now.
Yeah, pretty much. Hopefully I can get that black passport next year.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, look, since then, been really just involved with student youth travel, educational and sport travel, working for a company down in Queenstown, and then obviously joining Haka Tourism Group in 2015 to set up and co-found Haka Educational Tours. And yeah, that's a little bit of background on me so far.
Awesome. Just for those who don't know about Haka Tourism Group, paint a picture of what it involved before COVID-19 hit, and then we'll get into what's happened since then.
Yeah, so Haka Tourism Group is one of the largest tourism organisations in New Zealand. And essentially, we've got three different areas of the business. We've got accommodation, whereby we own and operate a network of lodges and hotels all across the country. You may have seen them on your travels. So yeah, we've got backpackers and hotels here in Auckland. And yeah, so that's accommodation. We've got Haka Tours and ANZ Nature Tours, which are basically our touring brands. And that's where you see individual travellers or groups just jumping on one of our trips here in New Zealand. So most of those guests obviously traveling from overseas. Around 80 to 90% would be international markets for those brands. And then thirdly is the education vertical. And obviously, yeah, that's my passion. That's my baby. So yeah, that's where we've got educational and sport tours for schools and universities and sports teams as well. We're about 50-50. So we've got a lot of schools and teams coming into New Zealand, but also working with Kiwi schools and teams and sending them overseas as well. So yeah, so I guess to paint a picture pre-COVID, we were really focused on those international markets, and we have experienced huge growth over the last few years. We were sort of a really well-established tourism business, which, as you know, we've got some pretty aspirational goals with our BHAG of where we wanted to be for 2025. And I guess, COVID has obviously put a a glaring halt on those plans for now.
Spanner in the works, to say the least.
Just a little bit of a blip.
What Eleri didn't mention is that Haka Tourism Group was one of the best tourism organisations in New Zealand. They'd won a bunch of national awards. They're really great people, and they provide an amazing service, which is why you had so many internationals come through your tours, which is awesome. And so I guess, obviously, COVID-19 has hit you guys in a big way. What went through your mind the day that the lockdown got announced? What happened in the office?
Oh, look, I guess for us, we saw that impact way before lockdown. So I can recall back to when we had our first group cancel, which was a school group from China that was due to be traveling here in February. Yeah. And so they cancelled with us in January. So we felt this impact way earlier on. And I guess that gave us a bit of time to at least prepare and plan for the worst and to get all of our ducks in a row. Although obviously it's a situation that we haven't navigated through before. So challenging to say the least. But I guess we did have that lead-in time, especially obviously on the education side when we are working with youth groups. I guess that sort of risk resilience is a lot lower. We're working with minors and they are more vulnerable. So that did give us, that lead-in time just to figure out, okay, well, this potentially could be pretty catastrophic. And then we just really hit the ground running with what our contingency plans were, health and safety, of course, but also just operationally, what does that look like? And putting together immediate business continuity planning. So that started for us probably in about February, March, and obviously things just escalated so quickly from that point. I guess, we did have that little bit of prep. In terms of lockdown, the biggest, hardest impact that had on us in terms of Haka Tourism Group was the accommodation sector. Obviously, we still had guests in those properties. We still had tours on the road. And so it was really challenging. We obviously needed to make some really quick, full-on decisions, keeping our clients safe, being our absolute priority, and then obviously staff in addition to that, and just navigating it as best as we could. Yeah. And
so since you already had tours here, did you have to go into full quick mode, send them back to where their home countries were, or did they spend a little bit of time here figuring out what their next moves were? How did that all work?
It was a bit split, to be honest, depending on who those guests were, where they were from, and what they felt comfortable with. Because a lot of the guests, were happy to just stick it out, wait a couple of weeks, see what happens. And then others were looking at immediate repatriation options. They may have had family members, needing their care back at home. Everyone's situation was different. So there was no that one size fits all approach. And I guess that's where we really, as a company, wanted to make sure that we find the best possible solution that fits with everyone's individual needs. So it was really just looking at all options. Obviously, having our own property really helped, especially in Auckland. So we were able to put a lot of the tour guests into our accommodation, and obviously our teams would look after them really carefully. But for others, it was okay. Well, what's suitable for your situation, and what can we do to, make that happen? Yeah.
Yeah, and no one quite saw this all coming. What do you think the most surprising challenge for you guys was?
I guess in terms of this whole thing has been so fast paced, to be honest. Even with the lead-in time that we had, in terms of, how the situation escalated from mid-March through to April. So much happened so quickly in such a short period of time. And that's been so challenging for all of us, just obviously trying to manage all aspects of, you know, business continuity, of ensuring our people and our staff are safe. So I guess it would just be how quickly everything moves and escalates, and how the game is constantly changing. You know, we went down, I guess, sort of up those grade levels so quickly, 48 hours, to be able to really securely make sure that all of our clients and our staff are safe. Like, that itself was so challenging. But in general, this whole navigating this pandemic has just the nature of it, has, you know, there is no playbook, and we're just doing the best that we can, trying to find this, you know, the right information, most up-to-date information, taking the data we've got and making the best decisions that we can, given the situation that we're in.
Yeah, moving a few weeks ahead of when the lockdown was announced. I know you guys were chosen to represent the tourism sector and report to government about what changes need to happen, or recommendations of next steps forward. What was that process like, and what recommendations did you guys make to the government?
Yeah, I mean, that's been ongoing for us. My colleague Eve did an amazing job of representing us, in the committee meeting. And we, you know, as a collective, not just us, but our colleagues in the industry across the board, there's been huge sense of community and support. Like, I've never seen anything like it before. We've all come together to look at, okay, well, how can we navigate the journey ahead, and what can we do? So what Eve had presented forward in the committee discussion, I guess, were sort of our recommendations or our desired outcomes of the situation, with regards to the tourism support package, the wage subsidy, and the ongoing need for communication and clarity around the border situation, which still we don't have. So that's probably the most frustrating aspect of everything right now. But that communication is so important.
Yeah, I see that every day. Like, some other country blows up with more cases, and there's quite a complex situation to navigate through from the government, and obviously that affects many businesses such as yourselves. What specific recommendations or what strategies do you see happening in the tourism sector? Because I know the government was just saying, we need to focus domestically, but what does that actually look like moving forward, do you think?
Well, I agree. We do need to focus domestically, and that is our absolute priority, of course. But what we do need, regardless of the short-term priority being domestic, is we need to have a strategy, and we need plans in place so that we have a time frame to work on with regards to what does medium long-term look like. So, you know, the borders can't be closed indefinitely. We need clarity over what that looks like, and we need to know timeframes so that we can, you know, set up our business operations and our forecasting and our planning based around that. And currently there is nothing in place. It's really unfortunate what obviously has happened in Melbourne, and again, that's put a spanner in the works. But regardless, it doesn't mean that we have to stop discussing and planning what our response is going to be in terms of the border restrictions, in terms of that Tasman bubble. So those conversations need to be escalated with urgency, and we need to have information and clarity over what that looks like moving forward. I think the health response and the economic response can sometimes be viewed quite isolating, as in two different factors, but the reality is they need to be aligned, and we need to just look at it more holistically. And that's what I guess I hope that the next few weeks will will present themselves when we have a bit more information next week, I think, as to what the travel restrictions looks like in Australia. I believe that's coming out on Monday, and that
exciting.
will hopefully, that will inform, I'm hoping, what our response will be to that Trans-Tasman bubble.
Yeah, and I'm sure for you guys specifically, you need quite a long lead time to get these groups over here from overseas. So, or the information you can get from the government, medium to long term, when are these borders opening, is a huge help. So, what are other people in the tourism industry saying at the moment? I imagine some other businesses would have to shut down, or some of them are closing just for a short period until the borders reopen. You probably have your ear to the ground more than I do, or some of our listeners do. What have you been hearing, and even from overseas providers?
Look, I think a lot of businesses are looking inwards and seeing what opportunities they have to pivot. Buzzword. If it's pivot. Hashtag, if it is possible at all. So, but that's not an easy process. Like, we have just worked through this process ourselves and looking at, okay, well, fundamentally, what are our strengths? What are our competencies as a business? And how can we pivot to really serve the domestic market? So, that takes time, and also you have to be in the right mindset to work on that. You can't just switch on innovation and creativity. And in times like these where, it's obviously pretty full on, it's not an easy process to work through. So those businesses that are able to move forward in looking at how can they set up their sales and marketing strategies to really target domestic tourism? Do they have the product in place? Is there a value proposition there for the domestic market to even appeal to that? I think the biggest challenge and question that we've been asking ourselves is, there is this mindset with Kiwis of that DIY approach to travel. So I'm just going to jump in my car, which I do myself. I'm just going to jump in my car. It's cheaper and it's easier. And I'll just go and do that myself. So that's probably the biggest challenge, is how do we address that, and how do we add value to an experience that really knocks that assumption on the head, and gives Kiwis an experience to some an opportunity to experience something that they just simply can't do themselves, they can't access themselves, or they wouldn't easily be able to do, if they had the funds to. So I think, look, it's a mixed bag, but I think that we have to continue to fight. Otherwise, the alternative is to sit here and do nothing whilst we wait for the borders to open. And I don't think that's the way Kiwis do it. Like resilience is one of our greatest strengths, and I think that majority of tourism companies are going to at least have a crack at it, see what's possible, and push forward to be able to have some kind of domestic offering, which will mean that their businesses hopefully survive, or have that longer lead-in time, that longer runway, with a view of obviously being able to get the Aussies back, or the Pacific Islanders back, as soon as we can.
Fingers crossed. The Pacific Islands should really be open, I reckon. We've 100%. Been waiting for them. They're COVID free. We're COVID free. They quarantine for a bit over here, but it seems like the government, Auntie Jacinda, please open the borders.
I know. I look. If I could map it out in 3 stages, it would be first, looking at those countries that have had no cases. So there are some of those in the Pacific. That will be stage 1. Secondly, looking at those countries that have eliminated the virus, the same response as we have, and obviously defining what elimination means and ensuring we've got alignment and reciprocal policies around that, testing, etc. And then obviously thirdly, looking at, well, how can we open up our borders and our gates to those countries that maybe have, like Australia, some areas are COVID free and others may not be. So it's, you know, like the UK and Europe, they've got their travel corridors, which is a great, you know, system to have. And yeah, we should be looking at how we can replicate that or have something similar.
How does that all work, the travel corridors? Because I'm not too clued up about what's happening in Europe. How's that
so
work?
there's been a lot happening in Europe. So the EU have specific travel guidelines in place. They change every 2 weeks, and that's updated based on, I'm guessing, case numbers and how countries are regulating the virus. But essentially, you've got travel corridors in place, which allows no quarantine requirements and free travel between those countries. So that's an EU guideline, but every country has their own policies and regulations also on the border. Some require testing before departure and then on arrival, and some require 48 hours quarantine on arrival, and some not at all. If you've got a negative test, you don't need to quarantine at all. So I guess, you know, those are some examples that we should be looking at and seeing what, you know, how are they working so far? What can we learn? What can we take away from that? And how can we adapt that? Because it is pretty crazy to me that Europe has, these travel corridors in place when there are existing cases and increasing cases in some countries. Yet, you know, our situation is a lot more contained and controlled. And we have, we're not letting anyone in. So
ours is much more black and white, whereas they've made adjustments based on everyone's situation. Seems a lot more dynamic and innovative. But of course we went quite hard and early with our lockdown, and we don't want to compromise that. So there's
of course,
there's such a complex situation that like you say, we've never been through it before. We need to we need to figure everything out step by step. And this election will definitely will highlight all these issues for sure. And of course, you highlighted the economy moving forward is a factor that we have to take into account. Tourism was a huge income for New Zealand. Just do you know the numbers on it pre-COVID?
So I actually just had a look at the numbers. I guess we were on track for 2025. The goal was an expenditure goal of 50 billion, which is absolutely huge. But I was also looking at the expenditure for Australia's every year. So in 2019, the Aussies, their expenditure was 4 billion. So if we could look at, you know, obviously getting a portion of that back for 2020, even if it's a 3-month window, like that itself obviously would have a huge impact on the economy here. So it's pretty significant. If we could make this bubble happen, that will do wonders for businesses, for employees, for our general well-being and mental health. Huge benefits.
Massive. Have you given much thought around what's going to happen to Queenstown in the months to come, or what's happening there at the moment, and in the tourism space?
So Queenstown, just speaking to obviously some of our suppliers down there and having our own accommodation down there as well. School holidays at the moment, things have picked up massively. We've got 100% occupancy in our property, and just speaking to one of the suppliers earlier, they're absolutely rammed on the mountain. So it seems like the Kiwis are totally behind the ski product, which is awesome. And Queenstown at the moment is bustling. So really good. I just hope that obviously continues on through the season. I think there's a bit of snow due next week, which will help too. But you know, it is such an awesome location for Kiwis to go and explore, and there's nothing quite like it. So just hope that we get behind that continuously all the way through to September school holidays as well.
Yeah, Queenstown's such a cool place. Like I've
It
been
is.
down a few times. That's where we hold our festivals because it's such a
Yeah,
destination.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as you know, we can host our Australians over there this year, but hopefully our bubble increases this time next year so that we can continue with it. But yeah, it's an incredible place. Do you see any other hotspots blowing up from a tourism angle in New Zealand, just because Kiwis can't travel abroad, like your
Mm.
Rotoruas, Taupo, Northland, maybe Coromandels. Are people traveling there?
Yeah, I think they are. Like, again, just looking at what our occupancy has been, and the domestic tours that we have picked up, it seems like, yeah, Kiwis are definitely venturing off the beaten track, which is really cool. Yeah, I guess Taupo is a key one, and especially with Ruapehu around National Park. I've heard that this week numbers are looking really good, and school holidays for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, that's really strong. So I guess, for the next couple of months, it will probably be mostly based around the ski season. So yeah, Wanaka, Queenstown, Christchurch, Taupo, maybe through to Rotorua as well. Those will probably be the key locations. And then obviously as we come into spring, I think people will be a bit more inclined to take a beach holiday and head up to Northland or the Coromandel. Yeah, and obviously, yeah, the weather kind of caters to those locations.
Yeah, for sure. It's good that Kiwis are getting out and supporting our local businesses because, yeah, like you were saying, tourism has been hit very hard, and yeah, we love our destinations and our little slices of natural paradise in New Zealand. We're very lucky here, but it's
Yeah.
good that the domestic market can serve those communities because.
Yeah.
Those townships have been hit hard, equally so, like the rest of the country, like the rest of the world. Do you have a time frame of when we can expect international visitors, or there's nothing happening in the background that you've heard of that the government might be saying behind closed doors?
There's nothing concrete, but yeah, we have had a lot of our tourism organizations, representatives that are working on like an approximate projection plan just to help businesses be able to have some kind of time frame to work on. And I think obviously Australia with the bubble, that's had a bit of a setback. That was originally on target. Ideally, we were looking at July school holidays, but now I think we'll be lucky if we make it to September school holidays, although, yeah, we'll see. And yeah, looking further afield, I would say early 2021, we'll start to see some of those international markets return. And that will be on the basis of what their response has been to COVID, how they're managing their active, if they have any active cases, and what some of the regulations and testing requirements are on both sides. So I'd like to think early 2021, we'll start to see some recovery. But yeah, the crystal ball only goes so far.
Yeah, that's absolutely
Yeah.
fair. Do you have any closing remarks? Anything that we haven't touched on that you think our viewers should know about what's happening in the tourism sector, or even further afield?
Oh, look, I think, yeah, just encouraging Kiwis to get out there and explore their own backyard as we're already doing. It's the perfect opportunity to do it. I know that, yeah, most people will be going overseas, and it's such an amazing place. And I feel like now we can just take a bit of a breather and reflect and, yeah, make the most of it. And yeah, get out there and explore and support tourism. Yeah, it's
Awesome.
probably it.
And if anyone wants to find you after this chat, where's the best place for that?
Yeah, hakatourismgroup.com for the whole organization. That's our corporate website, or hakaeducationaltours.com for anything specific to school, uni, or sport travel.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eleri. You guys do an amazing job at Haka Educational Tours and Haka Tourism Group, and we love working with you at Global Games. You guys are amazing, and I hope that we can open the borders very soon and bring in those international guests once again, and get that income for the country as well, because that would help too.
Yeah, for sure, Jess. No, it's been awesome to catch up with you, and yeah, thank you.
No worries. We'll definitely catch up soon, no doubt. But thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Sweet. Alrighty. You take care.
See you, Eleri.
Bye.
Eleri Williams, everyone. So they do an amazing job. They've been going for a few years now, and bringing, before COVID-19 hit, bringing so many tour groups from across the globe to show off our amazing country, where we work with them at Global Games, and they do a super job. So we just hope that those borders can open very soon. We can show the international guests our great country once again. I'll jump on again next week with a guest for you all on the Daily Jace. If you have anyone who you recommend for the show, hit me up, because I'm always willing to hear from awesome New Zealanders doing cool things. So hit me up, and who knows what can happen. We could have them on the show too. But that's all from me. Hope to catch you on the flip side. Peace out, everyone. Have a good one.